All right.
Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The rules of procedure adopted annually to ensure a productive meeting. The select board meetings are in the public, not of the public, meaning that the members of the public in attendance are entitled to the opportunity to comment, but the purpose of the meeting is for the board to be able to effectively and efficiently conduct the necessary business to govern the town. All questions and comments are to be directed to the chair, and the rules of procedure indicate that there will be 2 minutes allotted for comment from any single person on any single topic. The rules of procedure are posted in the town hall and available for everyone to review.
Okay. So we have Bob Jones, Mike Beecher, and Jessica Van Oort here tonight, and I'm Kristen, and I have everybody signed in. We have one addition this evening, which Charlie Mason is here to talk to you about a cemetery item, and Frank is also pre-requested, but Frank has suggested and offered that Charlie go first. So that is our
Seems like a good
first
plan.
item, yeah. So
Do we want to jump it ahead of the minutes and stuff too, or approving the minutes?
oh, we can approve the minutes quickly. So just the minutes that need approval are from May 13th, and there were 2 attendees that were not listed on the attendance list. So I've added those 2 individuals.
On the minutes, there were a couple things that, like where it said that Rudd Builders, we talked to Rudd Builders, and
Yeah,
then the motion made to hire Dave Armstrong.
yes,
That's unclear to,
Okay, so
to me. I know that Dave Armstrong is
Of
Rudd Builders,
Rudd Builders,
but I
yeah.
don't know that the public would necessarily know that.
sure. Let me,
And I can't remember what, just slightly before that. Do you have the minutes up right there?
I do.
There was one other thing that I saw that was just,
Dave Armstrong. Was it also in here?
yeah, just up a little bit. I think we talked about it.
Any
Okay,
other-
yes. The hourly amount, subject to be determined.
Yes.
That was strictly for the installation of the door, not the construction of the door.
Okay,
So I thought that maybe should be
so
clarified.
hourly amount for installation
Yes.
of the door. Okay,
Just a couple little things.
Yeah,
that I
no,
thought
that's good.
Clarification for the public that wasn't here.
yes, thank you for
Thank you.
reading them and for making the suggestions. So, so I'll say with 2 additions to the attendance list as well as clarification on items discussed within the facilities report. Does
Yeah,
that
with
sound
those
okay?
changes, I can move that we approve the minutes.
Okay,
I'll second that.
thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Charlie Mason, you have the floor.
Will. So, to me, do you wanna? So this is for our online broadcast, this microphone, to make me feel very official.
I have my personal request from the Cemetery Association. This hasn't been talked about at the cemetery meeting, which is tomorrow night. Annual meeting is running late. We're supposed to meet in February according to our bylaws, but we never got around to do it yet. So I worked on this week to get our minutes caught up to date and the minutes book in here. And I thought, well, you know, it might be a good idea if the select board had a member that was connected to the cemetery association so they keep track of us and keep us on our toes. I guess I'd like to say that Alice Haskins used to do a great job of it. We didn't have to worry about anybody else worrying about it because she took care of everything. And her and Judy's mother were excellent members. So my request is that you consider having a liaison with the cemetery associations. Now, we have one here that's already a liaison because he's on the board in West Pawlet. Now, he could do ours very easily because he knows what's going on. If somebody else had to do it, they'd have to take him a couple of years to get orientated. But I would like to invite somebody to tomorrow night's meeting so they can get a clue. Our investments are pretty critical to the select board activities if the cemetery association goes out of business.
Exactly.
We both got some considerable investments, and as long as they're going in the right direction and we keep them invested properly, they will help maintain the cemeteries. And the town's deposit now is doing a good job with keeping us up to date. So my request was that you consider a representative from the board that might attend I would think if they just made the annual meeting, they'd have an idea what's going on. The rest of the time, the board functions kind of on its own, but we've got, our bylaws say we're supposed to have 11 board members, and we don't have, we're short 3 or 4 now. I'm getting old enough, so I think I should get off. I should retire. I don't know whether I can get Mark to take my place or not. He is a lot holder, but our bylaws say they got to be lot holders to be members. And so if somebody could come tomorrow night and sit there and listen and make any suggestions you felt was helpful, it might get us some new members somehow. And I think it's important that we operate. I don't think that the select board wants the headaches of operating the cemeteries. They're kind of a nuisance but you got to look after the mowing, you got to look after this, and tree falls down, you got to look after everything that comes along. And so they do a pretty good job of getting it done. But if we don't do our investments properly, Mark Camden was our investment officer at Moores and Cabot in Rutland, and he, in an automobile accident, and passed away, so we lost him. So our connection now is in Boston, and I'm not sure that's the way to go. It's Mark would come down and bring us a bag of candy and talk about what was going on and answer questions. But now we got a guy in Boston, and we don't even know what to ask him. So it would be helpful I think. And so it's my personal request. It's not a cemetery request, but I guess they'd let him in if somebody showed up. So and I think it's, then when you reported your annual organizational structure, you'd have one on there, and it would continue on, and I think it would be a good feedback back and forth. And if we operate and do our job, you will have nothing to do. But just show up.
Okay.
But if we get negligent and not carrying out our operation, you do it before we went bankrupt. That's my request.
Okay. Well, thank you for that request.
It's mine only. I've been thinking about this a long time. But we got several meetings that aren't recorded in the book in there. Two of them were early, 14, 15. Somebody took notes and then forgot to write the minutes. I guess there wasn't anything that terrible important.
Nothing too important at that meeting, huh?
But it's not recorded if it was.
So tomorrow night, Charlie, where is the meeting and what time is it? So
6 o'clock at the
post it.
chapel.
6 at the chapel?
6 at the chapel.
Okay.
Can you make it?
I've got to run an oversized load to Boston in between, but somewhere I can try to fit it in today.
Boston's not that far.
No.
It shouldn't be a conflict. It's just give you enough notice so you know. But I just said, well, I want tomorrow night. If it works, it works. It'd be very helpful.
Right. No, it makes sense.
We have an annual meeting, which is just as short as can be. Then we have a trustees meeting that makes the decisions of what's going to happen through the year. That's the way we operate. I don't know how you want it over there. So it would be helpful.
All right.
Right.
Well,
So you'll try
all right.
it. Is that
Definitely
anything
try to
that
make it there.
you would be interested in?
Well, I'm figuring since I'm already liaison to the treasurer, I might just stick with that. If this one's up, if you can do this one, Bob, I appreciate it.
No, it'd be good to see how the other side of town runs their
Works and
works and yeah, that's as Charlie spoke. There's two committees, one that runs the cemetery in West Pawlet, one that runs the cemetery on the Pawlet side. And should they fail or run out of money, to maintain the cemetery, the town will automatically has to absorb it, and it automatically would go to the select board.
We do maintain the old cemetery up on Cemetery Hill, because we just work it in with the other one and don't have any set fees for it. But if you get it mowed before Memorial Day, it doesn't go too fast, and we skip it later on in the season, but we try to have it looking okay for Memorial Day. That's the big day. A lot of cars, a lot of people, and if they come to the cemetery, it looks nice, they're satisfied, they go home. I don't know what happens if the cemetery don't look good. We'll find out. We've had good caretakers, and that's been helpful. But that's getting more expensive because of lawnmowers and time, so.
etc.
That's a
All
good
right,
question.
so it sounds like Bob's gonna do his best to try and make it there, and we'll keep this on the plan to try and have somebody that can work with the cemetery associations to keep a little continuity and flow
There's
is
a
a
cemetery association,
valuable.
they're saying they just need to know it. And if they aren't, they need to know it too. That's where I'm at.
Right. Anybody else have any questions regarding the cemeteries? Well, it's very nice to see you and Phyllis here tonight, Charlie. Thank you very much for coming.
Well, I've been thinking about this for a long, long time. And,
Yeah, I think that's a very good, reasonable request that we have some type of
just a,
representation.
yep.
Okay, Frank?
Okay, let's see if this goes. If it doesn't, I can I'm clicking on it here once. Click. And maybe this here.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Is it going?
Yeah.
All right. And you.
So you gotta click view again. There you
You
go.
and
Full screen.
full screen. All right, here you go.
There you go.
Okie dokie. This is the official energy coordinator for Vermont statute report relative to what we've been working on, Jessica and I. And this is this thing here is a guide. This is these little boards in between are heat loss, and the total amount of heat loss when you add up the thermal bypass of a house, average house, is equal to about 36 inches by 36-inch hole inside the building. So and this here is when you have moisture buildup due to condensation, which is something to avoid with insulation. And this is in Pawlet. This is carpenter ants in the foam board insulation. This here is a foam board stuck in a window. The windows glow in here, and this is foam board, and this is my brick here. It's glowing, and it's totally stopping the here and here. Totally, this stuff here is totally stopping the heat loss. So we have total stop heat loss with this, and right here is heat loss being stopped in a foam board wall versus the studded wall with fiberglass. And this is just showing some summertime heat and compared to wintertime down here, which I'll get to in a second now. This is a condensation test for foam board, and this is what they're doing in some commercial buildings and residential in Australia for sure, where they prevent the carpenter ants and the red squirrels and stuff from getting into eating the insulation, therefore causing this. So if you can do this, and EPS could last 1,000 years as an insulation system. Without this, it's a matter of time before this, and that could result in this, and that's one of the downfalls. The majority of heat loss is thermal, as fast as it's the heat going as fast as the sun from your body to a colder surface, for example. And then you have convective and conductive, and the convective is the here and here. You notice it doesn't go down, but thermal goes down. Okay, so that's, when we go through the images, you'll see some of the boards, and you'll see heat loss through windows, and a comparison from winter to summer on some walls that will show you how the heat's leaving in the wintertime and how the cool is leaving, but technically not more heat's going into the building in the summer and last June. Okay, so up here is June of last year, and it's glowing. You can see from the heat of it, it's just really hot. This is, where'd I go? Did I go back here? This is the insulation this summer, and you can see that the insulation is blue. And the reason why is because the air conditioning is cooling the attic through the insulation, and there's quite a bit of blown-in insulation in there. And you can see that the yellow is actually the slate, the heat from the roof. The sun's right on it, but so you're losing heat through the insulation. It's not stopping the heat from getting in with that blown-in stuff. This is wintertime again. This is going up the stairs. You can see the windows purple, losing heat out the window, the door a little bit. This is going up to the top of the stairs. Looking down, you can see that little blue in the corner. That's heat loss going right out through the wall there. And you can see that all of the walls are blue, and the windows, everything's blue. The window has sun coming in, that's why it's warmer from the south. Again, up in the auditorium, same thing. Windows have heat. Walls are blue because it's cold, but the sun is coming in through the window. Same here. This is a similar scenario, except for a different temperature with the day. This is the effect of the current system of curtains that come down. You know, you've got those insulated things, and this is showing it's cold out, and this is the curtains are having an effect. So those window dressers would have an effect similarly, probably. So similar here. This is, you can see the studs. The heat's going out through the studs and up through the sill at the top of the wall. Is conducting heat out. Heat that's radiated from the air or from an object will go right to that purple like a magnet at the speed of light. That's how fast and then it will heat that up and conduct it out. Okay, this is, Jessica knows this little hole.
I have a problem with that hole.
There's no insulation on that. This is looking up in the attic of this building in the cold, in March. And you can see that the insulation is glowing, so it's not stopping the heat loss. It is actually going up through. This is another angle. You can see that the insulation is quite a bit up there. There's a lot of it up there. And it's losing heat up through it. This is that old picture you just saw. It was another copy of it. This is the furnace in the basement, kicking out the heat in February. This is the hot water heater downstairs, a little hot water tank. We could put a little insulation on the pipes, some of that Foreman pipe insulation probably, but you don't have that in the library. You have this here, and so you could actually shut your furnace right down for the summertime or whatever, and it would still have hot water. This is the basement. You can see down at the bottom, the door next to the furnace room. It's purple coming in there. The whole basement is hit or miss on cold. You can see all the purple where the cold is. And there's a window over there to the right. You can see the picture on the right hand side. It's losing heat. There's a lot of stuff down there that keeps the heat, the objects inside, but the walls will be colder and stuff. And this is the same thing here. Oh, wait a minute. This here is outside in the summertime. This is right next to Deb's desk. See that orange thing, yellow thing there? That's it. I thought that was a hot air duct, but it isn't. It's a chimney going up through there. And she was saying it was hot winter and summer. And you can see the windows purple. That's cold. And outside, this is right outside that picture. You can see the wall is showing that chimney heat going out through the wall there. This is going back inside the windows. You can see that the vault is cooler. And this is the summertime where the purple is showing the heat. Air conditioning is cooling the outdoors. You can see that the stairway, the deck going into the door is warm because that's heated up from the air temperature. But the air conditioning is definitely cooling the outdoors. And this is that furnace on, the chimney's on, and you can see the little black, blue, purple thing there. That's kicking out cool air. The air conditioning's going like hell, and the furnace is on. And this is just the purple windows showing the heat. Again, air conditioning, and the reason why it's so yellow around there is because green absorbs heat, and it was radiating the heat off. That's heat radiating of the yellow, but the heat is definitely going in through the windows like crazy there, even though the air conditioning is going. And this is a darker color. This is wintertime. The sun's coming at an angle and lighting it up down below, and it's cooler up above with heat loss in the wintertime. Similarly here, you can see the heat loss through the windows in the front. This is the lister's room. That's the wooden door. In what's that, March? And there's no insulation to that door at all. And that might be an issue with, I talked with Karen. They like wooden doors, Historic Preservation Trust does, but something could be maybe constructed inside. And this is the window behind. Again, it's those curtains, those insulation curtains, showing the cool. So it's having an effect. This is Julie's back wall. You can see the heat's going right out through the wall. You can see her computer screen's lit up there. And then this is the window to her left. Is the heat's going out through the window. And then this is just outside. You can see the snow on the deck, and the window's glowing and the wall's glowing. So the heat is going right out through the wall and the window there. This is a comparison. Summertime, that same angle shows the window purple and the wall purple, meaning it's cooling the outdoors in effect. And then the winter is heating the outdoors. The window's glowing and the wall's glowing. So this is obviously doesn't have much insulation in the walls. and the window's not having much of an effect. This is Nancy, oops, that was, what the heck did I do here? Goodness gracious. All right, here we go. All right, that's the difference. There's outside Nancy's office, purple in the summer. Here, heat, cooling outdoors, and this is the deck that right below the window there, it's heated up in June last year, and this is the winter time. The heat going right out through the walls again. This is Julie's walls right there on the right, and then there's Nancy's, and then there's these two windows here. So this is showing, again, that picture where the foam board at a certain density, like a styrofoam cup with a hot cup of coffee or cocoa, it would never burn your hand. That's having a very good insulation effect, stopping the insulation heat loss. And this is colorful on the backside. You can see the building is glowing on the front from the riverside pictures. And the building glowing there. Now that's that there. Now the library quickly is...
Make it quick, please, Frank. We have other stuff to deal with tonight.
Yep.
Just a few more minutes, please.
Yep. There we go. View. Full screen. Okay, this is the back of the library. You can see that the ramp is heated up pretty considerably. And then the windows, the whole thing is glowing. A little bit of insulation in the ceiling. The roof is a little purplish because it's cold. There's snow up there. You can see it. So that's a lot of heat loss through that ramp right there. It's not left on a lot of times. Not automatic. Here's that picture again blocking. This is the library is glowing all over the place. This is with all the windows, very little insulation in the walls. If any, we are losing heat through the windows, as you can see in the walls. You can see the snow is blue, and so we're not going to have blue walls, so it's not cool. Front doors losing heat, windows losing heat. Snow's on the roof. You can see that was green. The rest is so you have considerable amount of heat loss. It's not, and there's the back in black and white with again the ramp and the heat loss again. This is the heat, the ramp again, heat loss. This is the back, that door glowing. It's cold out, so the heat loss in that steel door isn't really stopping it. And that's this, and that's big snow on the ground again. The ramp is glowing. Black and white picture is the same thing, glowing again. And this is the furnace. This is the exchanger, because what you have is a bunch of pipes going underneath in the ramp, and it comes to the exchanger, and they're probably full of glycol, so it won't freeze up. And it goes to an exchanger, and then the water comes from the furnace to this exchanger, and this is all glowing right now as it exchanges to get it going out there. And this is coming from this furnace, which this is a summertime picture, I think. No, winter, and it's going out to the pipes. But this is just a tank. It's a holding tank for hot water. It doesn't have any heater to it.
So you're ready to wrap it up,
Yep,
Frank?
almost right. And that's the furnace in the summertime, where the heat's going to the tank for maybe a couple people washing their hands a day, and the furnace is running all summer, like that.
So all these issues are going to be addressed with this new grant that we're working on through.
That's
Rutland
the
Region.
hope, yeah,
That's
to
the-
put in a lot of insulation and resolve, and maybe the insets for the windows and resolve a lot of this heat loss
They're going to
situation.
identify this and come back to us with solutions to help alleviate some of these issues.
Some of this
Okay. And this camera is available at the library for
These-
homeowners
These cameras, this is a sample of one of the two where they can take the camera home and see what their own house looks like for heat loss and what they might be able to do to save a few dollars. And I'm almost finished here. That's the basement. There's some insulation you can see partway up, and the foundation is down below. It's colder, and that insulation's pretty old. I don't know. That might need to be
Okay,
tested.
Frank.
And then
Well, this is very valuable information. Thanks for bringing it to our attention tonight.
This is the floor in the mat weight room. It's heated. And then you get into some
Yeah,
changes.
and they're all pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's heat loss.
And cooling
Both
loss.
building are losing heat.
And these cameras are what can be signed out at the library for homeowners to use to help reduce some of these issues at their own home. Well, thank you for bringing all this to our attention.
One picture frame here is, see this in the back room? And you see that purple at the top there?
Yes,
And the windows are dark?
yes.
You can see in this picture here where it's that same area is bright yellow from the heat from the summer. So it's in the studs, and so that's pretty much the same story all around the buildings, is that the walls really don't have much, and it might be very costly to do that. So that's going to have to be figured out, is what can be done and what can't be done within the amount of money that he has. And Jessica knows that there's might have to borrow from Peter to pay Paul and make some decisions.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Yep. There's the original.
Was there any announcements tonight, Chris? Oh, excuse me. Let me get you back to the.
So no announcements.
No
from me this
announcements
evening.
tonight. And Nancy sent a message that said she had no zoning administrators report
Right.
for tonight. And the planning commission, they have, no, they
had one
skipped their
last
meeting
meeting.
last night because of that. Anything from James?
Yes. Let me pull it up. It was in an email. He sent it along to you all so you would have it as well. But, so from James, so the week of May 12th, the Highway Department completed shoulder cutting on Tadmer and Waite Hill Road. They completed ditching on Tadmer, continued mowing on 153, cleaned out culvert ends on Clark Road. Is there a Clark Road in addition to Chet Clark?
Chet
I thought
Clark.
I thought it was
It's the
Chet
same
Clark.
one.
Okay. So cleaned out culvert ends on Chet Clark, continued preventative maintenance on all roads. The following week, they fixed the Beaverbrook Road and Andrews Drive intersection and upgraded the culvert and erosion control there. A side note that James did not include, but that was utilizing some funding that we've had for a current grant. So that was a good improvement. They continued mowing. They replaced the Chet Clark Road sign, shoulder cut Rupert Hill, added erosion control to culverts and ditches on Tadmer and Waite Hill, and continued preventative maintenance as well as assessment of culverts for potential grant projects. And in the current week and next week, they plan to upgrade a culvert and install an underdrain on Bower Road, continue mowing on all roads, continuing preventative maintenance, cleaning out culverts on Waite Hill, 153, and Tadmer, and continuing grading. And further, they continue to plan to mow, add erosion control around bridge headers and wing walls, and preventative maintenance. So that is what they have been up to.
Okay.
And also, I think it was about midday Sunday, I got a call from Dave Ricard that a tree had blown down on New Street in West Pawlet. An old tree that was all rotten in the middle, and there's just a light breeze, but it was enough to put the tree right out in the road, and I was able to contact James, and he went over and he reported back to me that he got it out of the travel portion of the road, and then took the crew back this morning and got the mess cleaned up a little bit, but the tree belongs to the landowner, and they're gonna take it from there, and their homeowner's insurance or whatever will handle it. But there was no damage to any town property besides the fact that the top of the tree was blocking the road, but he got it cleared within no time.
Did you have something, Sue,
It
about?
was just about roads, so I can wait or we can talk about it now. About road signs. You want to do it now?
Yes, please.
Okay, check Clark Road on this end. We haven't had a sign for a long time, and we got one, so that's great, but it just says Clark Road and not check Clark Road. And there's a Clark Road in Rupert that's off of 315. And so if you Google, Clark Road, that one comes up. And so we didn't change the name of the road, did we?
Right.
Okay.
No, that needs to be the same sign on each end, even though that it's a
Right.
4 in the middle.
Right.
It still needs to be check Clark Road on both ends.
Okay, so then the sign needs to be changed because it
Correct.
just says Clark and not check Clark.
I'm sending James a message right now so I don't forget. So I'll let him know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Thank you. That was all.
And also, I think if they're on their way to West Pawlet, there's a frost heave sign that's still at Cold Bridge that they can remove. I think it just skipped there.
Did you say that the road sign is supposed to have the number 4 on it to indicate that it's a class 4 road?
No, that would be what, the town highway number, whichever number.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think we even do that anymore. I think it's,
I think
when
we have-
911 came, all the town highway numbers were
Right, we didn't
replaced
have
with the
to.
name.
Right.
Okay. All right. I sent him a message about
I'll
that.
let Matt and Christie know.
We can pass this all along.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Any more questions or comments? Okay.
Oh, actually, I had one question. So James and I spoke, I guess it was last week, and so he was just kind of inquiring a little bit about what the board would be interested in terms of like, as he's coming up with projects for grants and ideas that he has for certain projects, would you all like to have him sort of just use his best judgment and roll with certain things, like things that we already have funding for, that he's sort of inherited, or would you prefer that he come to the board with some proposed ideas for the projects and then have you all weigh in on where you think you'd like the highway department to focus their efforts?
Well, I could say from my experience, I think it's easier for us if we're questioned, if we know in advance. So,
Okay.
like, if the public was to question us, well, what are they doing on this road or this
Sure.
road, which happens to us.
Yep.
If he comes to us with the ideas so that, more so than anything, so that we know what his plan is and what
Right.
he intends to do.
Right.
If we have the answer right then and there, it's the right course of action and it comforts
Great,
the
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Much better than saying, oh, geez, I'm really not sure, and then we gotta go talk to him, and they say, well, don't you know, it can turn gray.
Yeah, I had said that communication is great, and the more that you can all be kept in the loop, the better. And so, whereas he, I think that everybody trusts his judgment in terms of what needs to be done, but it would be a good idea to just communicate about
Right.
what's going to be done. So that was, I'll make sure that I follow back up with him on that. But that's the program that he's been on,
That's what
which
I
is
would
great.
prefer. I would prefer having some forefront, some
Okay.
discussion on the forefront,
Yep.
just so that we're aware of what
Yeah.
the plan is and the goals are and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Well, he's been doing a great job. James has been doing a great job of communicating,
Communicating,
and with myself, and I know with the highway liaisons, he's been doing a great job of that, and his reports have been really thorough, and so,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I think
I-
my experiences so far with him is that he's been doing a really great job.
Yes, and I feel very strong about his skill.
Yeah,
And I
So-
I'm not wanting to seem like I'm second guessing.
No, it makes
I just
sense.
it's easier to answer people's questions if we
Yes.
have the background, so.
Yeah. Perfect.
Right?
And Julie gets to know ahead of time too.
Yeah,
Right.
Julie's,
Right.
he's, definitely.
To make sure that the money's in order, absolutely.
All
Any
right.
more for road commissioner? Road foreman, assessors? Anything from the assessors or not?
I don't believe so, no.
Town clerk's memo.
I've got that. All right, so, so from Deb, there is an individual light permit for Mark Guttel, appointed constable, and would like to confirm that the board has not voted to limit his authority to engage in enforcement activities under 24 VSA subsection 1936A. I am not aware that such a vote has been taken and that he is authorized to fulfill full constabulary duties. Matt Corey is scheduled to come in next month to finish the electrical project that was spec'd out for the PEG TV install. This will allow the use of the screen above the cart to be used and the installation of a quad box at floor level. I will not be at the meeting this evening. If I am needed for anything, Kristen can reach out to me. Have a wonderful evening. Respectfully, Deb. That answers your question, Frank. They're coming next week.
Who?
The
Yeah, Corey, to finish
electrician.
that. So we have not done anything, there has been no vote to limit any of Mark's authority.
No.
So we can let her know that.
So,
Who's coming? HVAC people.
The electrician
Bingo.
to finish up the power for that.
Good.
So is this individual light permit something we need to sign, or is that just something Deb is saying that she has?
Apparently, I mean, that, but I don't remember anything from the constables, but the fire service, in order for you to run your lights, you had to have someone like the chief sign it
Oh, right,
for you.
right.
So I'm assuming that the constable must have to have it signed by the town clerk.
Okay.
And I've never even heard of such a thing. Do you know anything about that?
No.
That would be something you'd have to do after the fact, but we appointed him as the constable with full authority.
Yeah, he has full authority as constable.
Okay.
And follow our guidelines that we set.
Yeah.
okay. So I'm just gonna, in the minutes, I'm just going to state that there has been no vote by the select board to limit any constabulary enforcement for Mr. Guttel, therefore Deb can sign this permit.
I mean, we could make a motion to authorize him to do his constable, the full constable
Well, I
duties,
think
but
you've done
We
that
did.
by,
I'm not sure.
by
Yeah, right, I don't-
appointing,
What
yeah.
we did,
think there's
we'd have to
anything-
do something to make the motion would be restricting
limit
him,
it, yeah.
and we've never done
Right.
that, so.
right,
Okay,
exactly.
Typically, you have a constitutional sheriff that's elected, and there's no oversight. And David Card was saying he felt that the constables were also constitutional elected, and that you didn't have oversight. That's why you haven't exercised oversight before.
Okay.
okay.
Treasurer's memo.
So from Julie, there are 2 warrants this week. Payroll is $10,024.46. Accounts payable is $44,629.55. General fund $14,153.73. Highway $32,783.11. Wastewater $7,717.17. There is a contract agreement to be signed. This is for the RRPC to help us with the Better Back Roads inventory, for which we have received a grant. How about those BMPs for the MRGPs? Julie. Have a great meeting. I should be back on track for being available for meetings after tonight. Respectfully submitted, Julie Mack. Payroll warrant, the motions that are needed are for payroll warrant number 25071 for $10,024.46 and accounts payable warrant number 25072 for $44,629.55.
All right, I'll move that we approve those two warrants, payroll warrant 25071 and accounts payable warrant 25072.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And is the contract agreement also in here?
Regional Planning Commission.
Yeah, that must be it. Road inventory. Yeah, this is for a grant agreement.
It's the one that we talked about the last meeting.
Yeah. That it's not gonna exceed 10,352, and they're gonna do the work between March of this year and run through October 2027, or until it's done, whichever is sooner. Yeah. I suppose we should probably also have a motion to sign this. I'll move that we sign the contract agreement with the Regional Planning Commission for the Better Back Roads inventory.
You good with that, right, Bob? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried.
Just copy and paste.
Yep.
Mover second.
You sure can.
Discussion result.
That's when we have the three-person board here. That's how it goes.
You could really dump some stuff on to Rich and Tom here.
Yeah, next time they show up, we'll be like, oh, wait.
Yeah,
You
you're
guys
in
should
charge
take the
of
next
this, you're
couple of weeks.
responsible
Yeah,
for
you're
that. You get it.
You're like, oh yeah, we made you the cemetery liaison.
That's the rule,
Yep.
right? If you're
Yeah,
not
that
here
is
to
the
defend
rule.
yourself, you can just,
Yep.
Good news.
It's often when everybody lines up and instead of somebody stepping forward, everybody else steps back and the guy's like,
Yep.
uh-oh.
Emergency management, did we have anything?
He
else?
had his report at the last meeting.
Okay, and anything from health officers?
So Jennifer emailed everybody, I don't know, I think it might have been yesterday, but it was
I
sent
saw that
directly, and it
email.
was just
Yeah.
an electronic update about the ongoing issue in West Pawlet with the troublesome burning.
Burn, yeah.
So just an update for you all about that.
So we're good with that.
Yeah.
Facilities. Tom's not here to talk about the door. That's about the only thing we got going. We've started that process, right? I guess.
Yeah, so I think
Last we saw with the door.
Tom was gonna get the certificate of insurance
Yeah.
and from both Dave Armstrong and Indian River.
Indian River.
And then they were going to move forward. So,
Okay. I don't remember, was there,
anything from Jill?
did we end up doing a deposit for the door yet or not? Okay. I didn't.
He
I
billed
didn't-
it. I don't know, I didn't see if it was on
I didn't
this.
pay attention. I scrolled through. Kristen, did we,
I can look
It was
this up right
in the
now.
warrants?
Yeah, let me see.
There was something for like $93 or whatever, but I
It
don't,
was gonna be,
right, but I
It was
don't,
gonna be a couple
it was
thousand.
something to do with it, but it wasn't any big deal. Whatever it was.
Holy Green Mountain Power. There was something for Indian River.
Mhm.
And looks like just for Indian River. I don't see anything for Dave Armstrong or Red Builders. So there was a door deposit for $45.80.
Okay, yeah, that's what the
the door deposit. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that was
that's all commencing. All right,
Yep.
good. Jill, I know we got the reports, but I don't blame, just the
There's
testing is the only thing that showed up.
Mhm.
And that's it for wastewater. Anything from the school board?
No.
Anything from the library?
Not really. We have a board meeting June 3rd at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And that's about it.
That's about it. Okay, thank you. Old or unfinished business?
So just the nuisance lighting. So I can just speak a little bit to that. I reached out, just sent a couple of emails to a couple of other municipalities and who I kind of tried to do some research and see who might have nuisance lighting ordinances. I didn't get any answers back, but I sent you all a copy. I believe it was from Underhill.
Yeah.
And so the way Underhill had it, it was an ordinance that was within their nuisance ordinance. Like they have a total nuisance ordinance. So I sent it along, and it was just sort of descriptive of what a nuisance lighting was. I think they called it, what did I say in that email? I'm trying to, let me see if I can grab my phone here. So objectionable lighting is how it was referred to there. And really what it did, it talked about, like how lighting should be cast downward and there should be a proper shield and it shouldn't be under a certain number of lumens and this, that, and the other thing. But one of the items that you need to have when you have an ordinance is you need to have actionable ways of enforcing it as well as an abatement process. And I think kind of what I was able to gather is that could be challenging to come up with that. I know that was brought up at the last meeting, just to be able to say, like, I think Tom Covino brought it up, is how do you go around and you determine, you're measuring somebody's luminosity and things like that. So unfortunately, I don't have too much more to say on that other than I didn't hear back from anybody, and I think that would just, if the board should want to move forward with it, you would have to make sure you consider the whole enforcement and abatement process if you were to put an ordinance into effect.
I just don't see any clear, consistent way of enforcement.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put something in that isn't clear and consistent for everybody in town. And I don't see any way we can do that and still be clear and consistent every time.
And I think it's notable that anybody in town who's had to go through the Act 250 permitting has already dealt with some stuff about lighting and everything. So any really large, project that's happening in town is going to have gone through that state process.
Right. So
And anyone else who's smaller than that, and they put up a light, hopefully they and their neighbor can sort out a situation with
Exactly.
the light.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, if there's something totally intentional, I think that we could address it some way, somehow, if we felt that there was a clear intentional thing.
Then that gets into,
right.
that's into something that
Right.
they'll get the police involved, not the
Right.
select board.
Right.
So.
So ultimately, I'm hearing that
Yeah.
you're feeling that the enforcement of such an ordinance would not be clear or consistent, therefore.
I think it's a we will take no action on it at this time kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
How about new business? Okay. Old or unfinished business?
We've already done.
Oh, yeah. We just
Unless
did
there
that,
was
didn't
any
we?
more.
Public comment. Phew.
Good meeting.
Thank you very much for we have a picture of what's going on, and
Yeah.
we do have a problem. It's public comment, and that is Jeremy's retiring tomorrow or resigning. And so we have Meg, who's newbie, and Jessica's been working closely with him, so I don't know if you know how familiar that Maggie is with Jeremy's scale of expertise.
Yeah, the person we were working with at the Regional Planning Commission, Jeremy, who was working with the MERP grant for the insulation, he is leaving the Regional Planning Commission. So that project is going to be, as of now, Maggie, who's there, is working on it, but I haven't had a really
Okay.
in-depth conversation with her.
We'll just have to work through it.
I
Okay.
think that maybe we should have a meeting with her. Just to
Let's-
find out.
Let's let it all settle out
Yeah,
first and see
definitely.
where it goes.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find her to be even better.
And
You
they
never
may-
I've
know.
had a lot of discussions with her before.
And they may hire someone else for that spot also, so.
Yeah.
Ladies? Nothing? You're good?
I want to thank Frank for his presentation. It was very well done. And thank you. And
Everybody's houses can be like thermos bottles. We won't have to produce electricity.
and I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All right. Any more?
So Frank, what did you find to be the best improvements you've made on an old house?
The reason why I did all this was because I was talking to contractors,
Yeah.
and every one of them had a different story.
Motion hasn't carried.
And so then I went to manufacturers of insulation products, and every one of them had a different story because they're selling something. So I finally went to Oak Ridge Lab in Tennessee and talked to them over a course of 2 years. And to do the whole thing right, you have to put a beer cooler around the whole building and work on shutter
So have you
systems.
made any improvements to an old house that you feel were the most valuable?
My house would be so
So you've
expensive.
done nothing?
There's no insulation in the
You've
walls.
done nothing?
We're
That's right.
still in our meeting.
Oh, can we adjourn?
We just have a motion. to
I thought you
adjourn.
did.
All in favor?
I-
Opposed? Carried.
I never